They built 28 condos on my land while I was in the hospital fighting for my life. They bulldozed the oak tree where I buried my wife's ashes, poured concrete right over it, and told me it was too late to do anything about it. But Barbara Kelso, the president of the Heritage Point HOA, had no idea who she was messing with. She didn't just build on my property. She built on top of my patients, and that was her first mistake. That 5-acre parcel wasn't just dirt and trees to me. My dad and I cleared it by hand when I was barely 22, fresh out of the Army. He always said, a man's land is his word made real. When I lost my wife, Sarah, years later, that old oak in the middle became her resting place. I promised her I'd build a small cabin there one day, a quiet spot where our daughter Emily could bring the grandkids. That land was my anchor, the last piece of my old life that still meant something. Barbara started sniffing around a couple years ago. She called the land underutilized green space, smiled her perfect fake smile, and said things like, "You know, Mr. Carver, the original county survey maps are a little fuzzy." I showed her my deed stamped, signed older than her entire subdivision, and thought that was the end of it. I should have known better. HOA presidents like her don't back off, they wait for weakness. Mine came when my heart gave out. 3 weeks in a hospital bed will make any man humble. When I finally got out, I just wanted to see that oak again, breathe under its branches, maybe talk to Sarah a little. But when I turned onto the old dirt road, my stomach dropped. The fence was gone. The land was unrecognizable. Heavy machinery tracks cut deep through the mud. Half-finished buildings rose where the oak used to stand. 28 of them. The oak was gone, ripped out like it never existed. In its place, Building C, according to the cheap plastic sign sticking out of the ground. I stood there staring at it, my chest burning worse than any hospital monitor ever could. Then I saw the big green sign. Private property of Heritage Point HOA, Phase 4 development. No trespassing. 2 rent-a-cops stopped me before I made it 10 feet in. One of them even tapped his pepper spray can like a threat. "You can't be here, sir. HOA property." "This is my land," I said, barely holding my voice steady. "Not according to our paperwork," he replied. That night, I didn't sleep. I called the county first thing the next morning, rattled off my parcel number. The clerk typed for a long time, then said, "Yes, Mr. Carver, your deed is valid, clear and current." Relief washed over me until she added, "But there's also a development permit filed 3 months ago by the Heritage Point HOA attached to a 1997 boundary survey." I remembered that damn survey. A clerical mix-up from my dad's day 10 feet of fence line that was never officially refiled. The HOA had dug through old records and used that to claim the whole parcel as community expansion. They didn't buy it. They just took it. Barbara called me herself that afternoon, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Mike, I'm so sorry about this mix-up. Why don't you come to the community meeting tonight? We'll clear it up in front of everyone." It was a trap, and I walked right into it. That clubhouse looked like every HOA meeting room in America, beige walls, folding chairs, fake smiles. 40 people stared at me as I held up my deed. "This land belongs to me," I said. Barbara just smiled that politician's smile and said, "That deed references an outdated plat map. We acted in good faith for the community." Then she leaned in close enough for the first few rows to hear. "It's too late now. The investors are paid. The concrete's poured. What's done is done. But maybe we can work out a buyout. The board is prepared to be very generous. A bribe." She called it a buyout, but it was a bribe for my wife's grave. I said it loud enough for everyone to hear. "You want to bribe me for the land you already stole?" The room erupted. Shouts, murmurs. Someone yelled, I was threatening them. I walked out humiliated. My daughter Emily caught me in the parking lot. "Dad, please," she begged, tears in her eyes. "Take the money. We can't fight people like them." Her words broke me more than Barbara ever could. That night, I sat alone in my garage surrounded by old tools and dust. On the back wall were blueprints, demolition plans, my company's permits, neat stacks of explosives cases. I ran a demolition firm for 30 years. They built it fast, but I knew how to tear things down faster. Still, rage wasn't enough. I needed facts. I called Lena Brooks, a civil surveyor I'd worked with before. 2 days later, she called me back. Mike, she said they built 12 of those condos directly over a main sewer line easement. They violated state safety codes. That was my opening. The next morning, I blocked the access road with concrete barriers and a massive sign citing my deed's right-of-way. Within hours, the site supervisor called screaming. I recorded the call. The HOA had to reroute trucks for miles, costing them thousands. That was just the beginning. Then, Barbara sent the cops to my house, said I was harassing her contractors flying drones. When the deputies arrived, my grandkids were terrified. I showed them my footage, her drone hovering over my property over my granddaughter's swing set. The officers left with tight jaws, promising to have a word with her. But Emily was furious. "Dad, they sent the cops, you could get arrested. Please sell it, walk away." I looked at her, shaking hands at the exhaustion on her face. I told her, "Okay, honey, I'll think about it." I lied. That night, I drove out in the rain and parked on the ridge overlooking the site. They were working late floodlights glaring as cement poured right over the oak's grave. There was a big banner strung across the entrance. Heritage Point, Phase 4. Grand opening, Friday, 10 a.m. A celebration on my wife's grave. I smiled in the dark. They'd built their victory monument. Now I just had to schedule the demolition. Friday came bright and clear. Barbara had outdone herself: balloons, coffee tables, a podium, even news cameras. At 10 sharp, she strutted up to the mic in a red power suit basking in the spotlight. And right then, 2 bulldozers rolled out from behind the tree line. The ground trembled. People gasped. I stepped out of my truck wearing my company uniform, ironclad, demo, and recovery, and walked straight toward the stage. Barbara froze mid-sentence. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. I took the mic from her hand. "Good morning," I said. "My name is Mike Carver. I am the owner of this land. You are all trespassing." She sputtered, "Security, remove him," but no one moved. My men were already positioned. I handed her a court order stamped that very morning. It voided her permits and authorized immediate demolition of all illegal structures on my property. Her face drained of color. "You can't do this," she whispered. "I can," I said, "and I am." I signaled my crew. The excavator roared to life, its arms swinging wide. The bucket punched through the wall of the model unit, wood splintering glass, shattering, people screaming as the camera crews filmed everything. Barbara shouted, "This is insane. This is destruction of property. It's not your property." I yelled over the noise. I held up the real survey map, the one Lena found, bright red lines showing the sewer easement running under her condos. "You lied, Barbara. You lied to the county, your investors, your neighbors. And now the truth's coming down with the rest of your buildings." The footage hit the local news that night. Barbara tried to spin it, painted me as a grieving veteran gone rogue. But lies have short legs. The bribery attempt she made with the city inspector got caught on tape. Strike one. Then she tried to forge a lien against my bulldozers. The judge laughed her lawyer out of court. Strike two. Her final mistake came 2 weeks later. My security system caught her sneaking around my garage at 2 in the morning. She was planting a recorder, maybe worse. The sheriff's deputies caught her red-handed. In her purse, they found my daughter's work schedule and my grandkids' school address. That wasn't a civil dispute anymore. That was stalking. Strike 3. When the Heritage Point Board held their emergency meeting, I was invited to speak. The room that once mocked me was now silent. I played one recording, Barbara's voice telling her contractor, "Just build now, apologize later. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission." Silence. Then, chairs scraping resignations muttered one by one. The HOA dissolved that night. Barbara was escorted out of the building in handcuffs, her empire crumbling behind her. I didn't cheer. I didn't smile. I just walked out into the cool evening air, the world finally quiet. Justice doesn't always come with sirens and headlines. Sometimes it comes with the sound of a liar's foundation collapsing under its own weight.